Sometimes when you're driving down the road all by yourself, you begin to hear a voice that tells you need to look around, pay attention, maybe something isn't quite right. That voice is me. It's the voice of Gord. Hey everybody, how's it going? Happy New Year 2026. Belatedly recording this intro Wednesday, February 18th. It has been 2 solid months or better since I've released an episode, and I want to thank you guys for your patience. It's been very busy around the Voice of Gord homestead. All the usual excuses apply: working, family, book stuff, all the things. And I haven't got around to recording anything. I did record a 2025 year in review with about 16 different people, and it went on for like 5 hours, and I just haven't got the time to edit it. So I think that one might stay in my hard drive for a little while. But anyway, thanks for being back with me. Got a great guest here for you to kick off season 4 of the Voice of Gord podcast project. Yeah, that's right. This is my 4th year of doing this. It's been pretty cool, very informative, and lots of fun to bring you all the different interesting people I have found in the world of trucking. And I greatly appreciate your listenership. So, to start off season 4, I've got Ike Stephens from the Bonehead Truckers YouTube channel. I'm sure you guys have seen him out there. I think he's got over 300,000 subscribers on YouTube. He makes very funny and very informative videos about the sort of, how else shall we put it here, the decline of the American trucking industry as seen through the actions of the people who are erroneously called drivers. But anyways, yeah, Ike's videos are a hoot, and I've been dying to get a hold of him and talk to him for a while, and so we had this nice long chat. He's a very funny guy. You guys are really going to enjoy this. Ike and I will both be at the Mid-America Trucking Show, March 26th to 28th in Louisville, Kentucky. Ike's going to have a booth there for his Bonehead Truckers channel, and I'll be hanging out with him, and I'll be hanging out with the guys at American Truckers United and Truck Parking Club and selling my book. End of the Road, Inside the War on Truckers is coming out in like 6 weeks. On March 24th is the official release date. Can't wait for you guys to read it. It's awesome. It's sort of a book based on everything I've been talking about here at Voice of Gord for the last 3 years. And, everything going on out there in the trucking industry. It's available for pre-sale. In America, you can go to creedandculture.com. That's the name of my book publisher, and you can order the book there. In Canada, you can go to Indigo Chapters. I think it's indigo.ca and search for End of the Road. Or you can go to Amazon if you must. I'd prefer you didn't. But it would be even better if you came and met me at the Mid-America Truck Show, and I'll sign it for you and give you a big old cash discount. Wouldn't that be great? All right, well, I don't want to hold you guys up too much longer. Thanks very much for waiting. Again, my apologies for not getting an episode out sooner. If you want to yell at me about it or offer any other commentary or ask any questions or suggestions or send me some hate mail, go right on ahead. You can get a hold of me at gordylocks@protonmail.com. Be sure to subscribe to my Substack, autonomoustruckers.substack.com. I just released a pretty interesting deep dive into the problems associated with the worldwide emigration project of Narendra Modi from India, and how we're seeing that on our highways everywhere to very negative effect. It's one of those very long reads, and I think you guys would enjoy it. So go check that out. And I got lots of stuff coming up this year as part of the book project. There's going to be a whole bunch more interviews here, a bunch of my own interviews at other people's shows. 2026 is going to be the year of the Voice of Gord podcast, I think. So again, thanks for being with me, and let's get to the show. All right, g'day everybody. Welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Voice of Gord podcast. First one of 2026. I have been slacking real bad. Haven't really recorded anything since like November or early December. I've been very busy, and life's like that sometimes. But I'm Gord, and this is my voice. And the first voice of 2026 you're about to hear is a gentleman I've been trying to get on the show here for a little while now. We're both busy guys. He's extremely busy. As far as I know, this gentleman hosts the biggest trucking commentary YouTube channel in the world, if not just America. I'm not 100% sure about these things. I don't watch too many YouTube videos. Some of the kids might say I'm a word cell. I like to read. I like to write. I don't watch too much stuff, but when I do, I watch this gentleman's videos. They're very well produced, very interesting, highly entertaining. You're always going to learn something, and or be offended, and or be enlightened. So
Yeah.
please welcome to the show, Mr. Ike Stephens of
What's
Bonehead
up?
Truckers.
Yes, I'm one of the biggest. One of. I'm not the biggest. There's obviously bigger in the trucking space, but there's always someone bigger than you. But no matter where you're at. But yeah, I appreciate that. Listen, if I ain't making, listen, all I want is truck drivers to be entertained and just kind of like empowered and feeling like they're worth something and give something to laugh at, but get some information to them and get them something to stand behind and feel like that. Hey, there's someone out here that's got a voice for the trucker, which which is great because again, I've got over 20 years experience, so it's not like I ain't, just, I drove for a little bit. Now I'll start up a YouTube channel. We didn't have YouTube when I started. Um, but if I could piss off the right people, I have a target people, not so much my audience, but target people that I enjoy to piss off. And if I could get blocked, and listen, are you blocked by the ATA?
Not yet. I don't, which is weird because I've written about them and they've responded to me without using my name because they're cowards, but they haven't blocked me on Twitter yet, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, listen, something like that, like an ATA. Now I block people. I block people at fetching shakes, and they probably brag when I block them, and that's how the game works. But I want the ATA to block me. And when someone blocks me that has a that that I'm kind of like, I wear it like a badge of honor. No, the guy over there, the big guy over there in Chattanooga, has me blocked, and I really don't know why. I was not trying to get him to block me. However, since he's got me blocked, I will just have it as a badge of honor, just because I can.
Yeah, Craig's been a guest on my show. He's coming back. I'm in the middle of reviewing his book, Moving the World. Uh, the big guy in Chattanooga is a hell of a way of
Yeah,
putting it.
yeah.
I get along great with Craig. I'm trying to figure who I've been blocked by in trucking world. Not too many. I have a few haters. I've had to block them or mute them, but I
I
try and
think
talk.
it's
I try and talk to everybody.
yeah. I think I got blocked. By one of the other media people. Well, that's in Chattanooga. That I think is a buddy of yours. But he's blocked me. Yeah, it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and bash on people, but I got
You
my
just came.
opinions.
You came right out of the gate, guns blazing, Ike. I mean, so hey, man. So on the remote chance that there's any of my listeners who are unfamiliar with you or your work, I doubt it very highly, but you never know. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I understand you've been in the trucking business for a long time. Obviously, your YouTube show is quite popular. I can't remember how many gazillions of subscribers you have, but it's pretty substantial. And tell us why you started Bonehead Truckers, and we'll go from
Well,
there.
well, I tell you what. I started driving. Again, I mean, 25 years ago. And I've been off the road for a few years because I do Bonehead Truckers full time. It's my full time job. This is what I do for a living. And so, I mean, I take it very take it very serious. Basically, back around 2009, 2010, YouTube was around, and there was some trucking content creators, and a couple of them are good friends of mine still to this day. Um, but I started some trucking content. Now, it wasn't Bonehead Truckers starting off. It was just, hey, I'm out here in the truck. I'm just filming stuff, right? And there was one time, there's a Flying J at Texarkana, Arkansas, on the Arkansas line or
I've been
side of,
there. I went to
yeah.
I went to that Flying J in 2001, a long,
hmm
long ass time ago.
Yeah. So if you remember, there's some parking kind of towards it's on the side of the fuel islands over there, and it's kind of lined up like this, and then you got a row right across just like this. They're kind of just straight. They're not angled or anything like that. Um, and it's really tight. So I'm just sitting there in my truck, okay? And there's a couple of guys out there yelling, had my window down, a couple of guys out there yelling. And I know this is probably an audio thing, but I had this exact camera. This is a old Sony Handycam. It's beat up. It don't even work. I just keep it up here just to show kind of where I came from. And so I just started filming. These guys started yelling. I'm like, hey, what do you do on YouTube? People, hey, maybe I can catch a fight or something. So I got to start filming this. And one of those guys um, goes to nose in. He goes to nose into that one of those spots, and you can't nose into that spot. There's just no. You have to back in. There's just no other ways around it because if you do try to nose in, you're going to be in an angle, and then when you get out, there is no way for you to get out without hitting somebody. It was just that and so I just film it. And there were some guys helping him, right? People will sit there and say, oh, you should get out and help him. He had people helping him. I was just making sure he wasn't going to hit my truck. And besides, I was having a little bit of fun at this guy's expense because he was already pissed. He was already trying to pick a fight with a Silly Don driver back when Silly Don was around. But the that was Bonehead Truckers #1. I said it. Bonehead Truckers part and I didn't know that it would turn into anything because maybe a couple of weeks later there was a guy blocking a fuel island, and I took the same camera and I step outside my freaking truck and I filmed him and I says, hey, I'm putting you on YouTube. And by the way, this is one of those guys, even back, this was around 2010, somewhere around in there. Um, it was one of the White Volvo Mafia people, and I really don't think he knew much English. And this was back in 2010. This was a problem that we've had now. We still had that problem then, not as bad, but still. It was one of those Chicago carriers, and he didn't know what I was doing. I was like sitting there yelling, says, hey, there's a place to park back over here. Don't be blocking a stupid. He didn't even get fuel, and he was blocking. It was a whole big line. Anyway, that was #2, and then we went on and went on. And I was filming them on myself, as I was vlogging. But the Bonehead Truckers individual videos that I would do were those were popular. Those were popular because man, we got people. Listen, negativity sells. If it bleeds, it leads. I'm sorry, but that's the internet. That's how it
I mean,
works.
that's the only reason that the mainstream media are paying attention to trucking for the last year or so is because of all the crashes and all the bleeding.
Yeah. So I've been going on. I've been by this time it's 2020. Had COVID going on. My channel had like 25,000 subscribers at the time. It was pretty good. And I had some buddies of mine, some YouTube buddies. We were on the phone and sitting there like we would do while we were working. We just blah blah and saying everything that's offensive in the world to each other on the phone. You just imagine truck drivers that aren't they know they're not being recorded. We will say every offensive thing we could get away with that you can't get away with. But anyway, one guy was like, "Hey, you ever heard this channel called Broncos Guru?" I was like, no, he does boat fails. Like people, he just sits, people failing, boat wrecks, boat ramp stuff. But his videos were called Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. And I was like, dude, already got the name Bonehead Truckers. What if I do that? What if I take clips that I see on the internet and to make it legal for YouTube? But here's the deal. I know you probably, I don't know how much you know of copyright law, but you can't just go take someone's video and repost it and claim that it's yours. You have to change it, and you have to put your. I would put my voice over it. That's how I would do it. Put my voice over it, and
Or credit the original producer too, correct?
yes, not necessarily because that credit that original guy that had it can get pissed off at you and and do that. So I mean, unless you have it in writing and you dispute it and you go to court, maybe. But 100% how you have to change the video. You could leave the whole video on there, but you have to add commentary, and that's what I would do. And I would use trucker humor that only truckers would understand. A lot of this thing, well, I had this little cheesy little thing that I said. I never thought I said it, but it was called shame on the mess, right? And truckers use that all the time. And I was like, on the radio, not like the CB radio. And I didn't notice I was saying it until people started saying it, so I started selling shirts. But in 2020, that's when it really took off, and a year later, I was able to do it full time. And then here we are. And then I know we'll get into this, but that's how Bonehead Truckers, the brand, it's so big. Kids love it, grown adults love it, old people love it. People that aren't truckers love it. Swifty Swift loves it. They put my videos in their orientation.
Do they really?
Yes, they do. Yes, but hey, oh, there's one. They have me blocked on Facebook, so there's that. But a year ago, almost a year ago, we had this bad wreck over here in Austin, Texas. You remember that where the Amazon guy?
Yeah. Crashed into 17 vehicles,
yes,
high speed. Yep.
That's when I was like, man, I've had enough of this. By this time, the ATU were already starting to get a little bit of headlines in Arkansas. So this was right around the same time that wreck happened. That's what got me involved because I'm sure you've seen the video footage that Tanya Iser of Channel 8 out of Dallas does. She's got that. She's got the documentary kind of thing of the wreck in Fort Worth on that icy road.
Yep.
But I would not put videos like that on my channel because it's a fatality. And I didn't, at that time, my channel was all comedy. And I don't want to sit there and do comedy skits over a tragedy like that.
Right.
So I never even talked about it, I don't believe. But this wreck in Austin, that triggered me because, I mean, it's just something about it. It's just enough. In 2024, for a little bit, I drove a truck. It wasn't very much. It was just driving around, did a few loads here. And the guy that I was driving for, he asked, what's the biggest difference you've seen? I was like, dude, it has turned into a third world country out here. You go into a truck stop, ain't no one speaking English. And it's just run down. This trucking industry's run down. And that was kind of a spark. But this wreck that we had, and it was almost a year ago to the day, that wreck. And then it wasn't too much longer. Then there was another one. Then there was a Mother's Day. And there was one over here on I-20 with Hope Trans. And that one was just, and I just made the statement. This is what I said back, but this was after the Austin, Texas wreck. I says, hey, that's why I said, you need to be an American citizen, drive a truck. I'm sorry. We've got to get rid of the foreigners. If you get me canceled because I used that horrible F word, foreigners, so be it. I'm based. I'm not playing politically correct and be nice to this guy, be nice to this group of people, be nice to this group of people. I'm done with that. I'm absolutely 100%, and I'm still done with that. And every time something, we get, kind of complacent and everything, something happens again, like we had like last week with the Amish people.
Yeah, and then it
And
happened a week later. So you would have seen the one. This guy, Senator Banks from Indiana, tweeted about it a couple days ago. So the four gentlemen tragedy in Indiana, literally 1 week later, on the same road in the same county, this guy driving blows a stop sign, almost hits another car. The police witnessed it. The cops saw it happen. They chase the guy down. They pull him over. No CDL, illegal immigrant, been in Indiana for 2 years from
mm,
India, right?
yeah,
On the same road,
wow,
right?
wow,
And I really appreciate what you said about the incident in Austin. So that was March, early March of last year. And I think that marked the first part of the turning point with the rest of the media starting to pay attention to this, right? So
yeah,
this crash in Austin kind of goes haywire. At that time, I had been talking to the ATU guys. I had them on my podcast like right around the new year, in December or January, and we talked about all these issues. And I had written this piece for the Blaze in November of 2024, saying to the incoming Trump administration and the Doge, like, we have a bunch of problems in trucking that you guys need to deal with. And like, I'm not trying to say I was like ahead of anybody, because anybody in the
yeah,
trucking business could have said this, but I was given an opportunity to say it in the Blaze. And then this year has just been one after another, after another, after another, after another. And
and
like the last couple of weeks, and in Canada, so I'm originally from Canada. I've been living in the United States now for 10 years, but I pay attention to a lot of stuff that's going on back home. We have a problem with this one particular community who are highly migrated into Canada and penetrated into the trucking industry. And they just keep getting in crashes constantly,
yeah,
because not because they're necessarily any worse people, but because there's something in that culture that tells them to be scammers and to rip
yeah,
off the system and to get
hmm
and to not train properly and just get in the truck and go. And they're trying to stay in Canada and get permanent residency, and maybe being a truck driver helps them with their points or whatever, even though they never drove anything when they were back home. And they keep getting in accidents. And in the space of 2 weeks, in the same area of Northern Ontario this winter, like 2 weeks ago, 6 major truck collisions. Okay. I still don't know what happened with the sixth one that happened the other day up in New Liskard. Two trucks collided. I don't know if anyone's dead or alive, or fatalities or injuries or what. But previous to that, there was five, and two of those five collisions with big trucks involved fatalities. Three of the five were in the same like 10-kilometer stretch of road near Thunder Bay. And it's just constant up there. Like
yeah,
I had a guy reach out to me, right? So, you and I are both somewhat prominent on social media. There's a guy who's a dispatcher at a trucking company in Toronto, and he reached out to me last year, and he said, I have drivers who refuse to go to Western Canada anymore. They will not drive through Northern Ontario because there's like two roads that become one road that become until you get to Manitoba, and then you have different choices again. But that road, like it's either 11 or 17, and then it's 17 going from Thunder Bay to Winnipeg. It's just a death trap. Like there's so many accidents, or the highway gets closed down, especially in wintertime. And we just have this problem. And it's, again, as you say, if it bleeds, it leads. And we're starting to get some focus on this from the
yeah,
mainstream media, from politicians. People are starting to be like, WTF is going on here? And like, your show, Bonehead Truckers, and your voice on this has been very vociferous, man. You've been coming out, F word, foreigners, foreigners, foreigners.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I want people to sort of understand that, like, that's a sort of shorthand trucker way of saying we have a problem here. This is not to
yeah,
like denigrate any particular individual or group of people. It's that our whole system has been parasitized. There's numerous holes in it, right? So there's like the Biden not looking after the border, issuing employment authorization documents to fake asylum claims. Then we have state level DMVs giving CDLs to people with no training, recognition of CDLs from Mexico that are also dodgy. There's just all of these problems all across the board. And then, to the people, some people might like this guy in Austin. He was helped getting his CDL by one of these like NGO foundation nonprofit groups that are like, we're just going to help the migrants. Maybe in
Yeah.
their heart of hearts, they thought they were actually helping, but they don't know anything about the trucking industry. And they
No.
believe the American Trucking Association's lie about a driver shortage narrative, right? And so
No.
then they just give these people licenses and they're setting them up for failure because those people have no idea what they're doing. They think they're just going to go and drive around. Truck driving as a job is not just driving around,
No. No.
right?
No.
It's
It's
just
not.
so much more.
What these people have done, again, not knowing what they're doing, that they lie when they come over here. Oh, I got trucking experience. If you, I listen, I don't know if you've been to, I haven't been out of the country much, but I've been to like the Caribbean islands down there. Um, and if it's anything, those roads suck. All right. Those roads and those drivers suck and they drive like idiots around there. There's no way you can get me drive one of those little bitty cars or anything over there. But I can just imagine what it's like in a lot of these other countries where, I'll say it where I mean they play and poop. Okay, they don't have they're third world countries and they're coming here and they got listen, they got a dream to come over here. But man, let me tell you something. We've got an American culture here. And even in Canada, I know you're not in Canada now, but you come from Canada, y'all got a culture too. And and it's kind of the same, even though y'all say a boot different, okay? But but it's still kind of the same. I got friends in Canada. I call them snow Mexicans all the time. That's the reason why I know I can get away with it. The and that but that's just it. We have our culture. If someone's going to come over here, they need to adapt. This is the way I see it. And it doesn't matter if you're a truck driver or not. If I wanted to go to the Philippines and live, and I know a lot of people that retire here to go live in the Philippines or somewhere else, they adapt to their culture. They learn the language, and do all that. And it's just like, of course, our money here can go a long way in some of those other countries.
Yeah.
But it's just, but they adapt, right? And they respect their culture, even though if you go to those countries, they want to be like Americans. But anyway,
Well, on that
but
note about going to those other countries, so one of the things I like to point out to some of our critics or interlocutors, or maybe people who don't understand what's going on here, is that find me, go to the Punjab in India, or go to Somalia, or Eritrea, or Ethiopia, or Moldova, or Kyrgyzstan, or Kazakhstan, or the Philippines, and find me large numbers of guys that look like me or you from Texas or from Ontario that are driving truck in those countries, failing to learn the local language, taking most of the money they make there and sending it back home, and then also getting in accidents at at a very high frequency. Find me all of that. And you can't because it's not happening, right? It's all in one direction, right? And so
Mhm.
one of the things I think that like our friends, on the political left and maybe folks that are sensitive to questions about migration and whatnot and want to be nice to, the foreigners, as you put it, that's fine. But I think they don't understand that there's other nefarious things going on in the background. So we have our friends online, Danielle, Justin, they point out all this stuff. They research all day long. They keep posting stuff on Twitter, which is great. And we are finding that this one particular country, Moldova, has got tons of load brokers and trucking companies operating here in the United States. And they are somehow managed to be moving United States military freight.
Mm.
Why are people from Moldova allowed to haul freight for the United States military? You've been following this. The United States Postal Service,
Yeah.
the post office is a venerated institution in the United States. It's been around since forever. The government has always crushed anybody that tried to compete with it. There was a guy named Lysander Spooner in the mid 19th century who tried to start something called the American Letter Mail Company to compete with the post office, because even back then their service was sort of questionable, and the government crushed him. They have very specific rules in order to maintain their services. You can argue about them all day long, but they have them. And one of those rules is only Americans may touch or handle the mail. And they've thrown those rules right out the window because we have insourced so many people into the trucking business that insourcing, these people who take their money, send it all home because it goes way further back home, and then American truck drivers cannot compete with that. So we just say the hell with it and stop trucking and make YouTube videos, or in my case, I work construction. And now our trucking industry is like somewhere around 25-30% insourced labor, people on temporary visas, no visas, illegals, questionably issued CDLs, like dodgy as shit, right? But it's not happening in the other direction. We're not doing that to them at all.
No.
No American or Canadian is doing this.
No. So here's my thing. It's this is so funny how this is all working. Um, as we look into this stuff, this wreck over here, in Terrell, Texas, just down the road over here. So it hits home when it's close to home, right? The one in Terrell, Texas, hit us pretty rough. I
How
say,
close are you to Terrell? Whereabouts are you in Texas, sir? I
I'm in
know
East
you're
Texas.
I
I'm
know
in
you're
East
in Texas, but I wasn't sure where.
Yeah, it's about, listen, when I say it's just down the road, it's 2 hours down the road. 2 hours down the road in
That's
Texas is not very far.
just down the
Okay.
street. Yeah.
That's down the street. From where I live, it'll take me all day, and I will not to get to El Paso. All right. I'm on the exact opposite of the state. But here's the thing, that wreck was brokered by, surprise, another broker in Chattanooga. Um, that these people,
I feel
and,
I
and
feel I feel like there's some competition between Texas and Tennessee going on here.
I love Tennessee because Tennessee and Kentucky people created Texas. Okay, they came down here and they gave us Texas. So God bless Tennessee. God bless Kentucky. And listen, I have a lot of friends in Chattanooga. Okay, hey, I work with people in Chattanooga. Chattanooga is a central hub of some good stuff, but some central hub of some bad stuff. And there's so many brokers over there. And this one, Chattanooga, I can't say their name because when I did say their name on YouTube, well, first of all, Tanya Iser did, and she still will stand by it. But I did, and my phone started ringing off the hook. Okay, because this is a mega broker that can crush people like me and crush other people that want to have their name in their mouth when it regards to this. The brokers are just as responsible as anybody because they need to vet. It's their freight just as much as it is a shipper's freight, right? And the shipper needs to know that we've got illegals out there driving their product around, and a lot of times it ain't going to make it because they're illegal. They're foreigners, and they can prevent that. They can. As easy as saying, "Hey, is your driver, let me see a copy of his driver's license." And people do that. We've got a mutual friend, okay, that you know um, has a way of putting loads on a board. Okay, it just put out like a dummy load. I'm not even sure. It may have been a dummy load, could have been a real load, but he said in there, he's like, "Hey, I got to see their CDL," and he got a whole lot of copies of people's CDLs, and able to show them privately. I don't think he ever did anything publicly with it. I don't think he can, but it was amazing to see that in person, how much of this is how bad it is. And so just as much as it is the US DOT's fault for allowing this to happen, under no matter what administration it was. Because listen, Trump was president for 4 years, and this was a bad thing then. Not as bad as now, but it was still bad then. Okay.
It's greatly
Um,
accelerated since COVID, since 2020,
yes.
2021. Yeah.
Yes. Back when, well, like you have everyone has their Facebook avatar. It says, I can't stay home. I'm a truck driver. Yeah, well, because truck drivers were actually getting it done. I was pulling for Walmart at the time, and I was going into these stores, and there was lines going into these stores, and they would watch me come in, bringing in food, and it was crazy, and it was like that all over the trucking industry, and they bring in these foreigners. Of course, I don't know how can I get a conspiracies here? I don't know
No,
how.
man, you go for it. I may or may not agree
Co-
with you, but
COVID
go
was an
for it.
inside job. COVID was 100% an inside job. Okay. Just like 9/11 was an inside job. This was created as an attack on the U.S., the United States, okay, and against the Trump administration. That's what it was created for. People died because of that. Okay, and then obviously, I don't think some politician up there, or not really a politician, or it would have gotten out. Not some freaking elite, global elite center say, "Oh, we're going to screw over the trucking industry." I think it just happened. Okay, it just happened. But we're going to bring in all these illegals. I mean, I remember Fox News, when Biden was president, and we had all these people crossing over the Rio Grande, hundreds of people at a time crossing the Rio Grande
Yeah,
Valley.
I've seen numerous of those videos. Yes.
Yes, and they put them on a bus and go ship them somewhere, and then all of a sudden they're truck drivers. Imagine that, they're freaking truck drivers, and this has been a planned attack. Well, COVID was okay, but and trucking got big involved in that, right? And I'm gonna sit here and also say I am not MAGA. I mean, people may say, "Oh man, this freaking redneck, he's MAGA, MAGA, MAGA." No, no, I see straight through his BS, fashion shakes. Because here's the deal: he Pam Bondi was up there in this freaking Washington D.C. and she said no people have crossed over the border illegally. Yeah, because Trump gave them an H-1B visa. That's the reason why you have low numbers but high H-1B visas. And surprise, what, a few weeks ago, we're making this announcement. We're going to have 65,000 H-1B visas because
Yeah,
we have a
I saw that. That's a problem. The issue here is not legality versus illegality. Um, the illegal makes it worse, but the legal stuff you're just slapping a piece of paper on it and saying it's okay. But the end of the day, it's the same thing. It's like labor arbitrage. The government is working with their corporate interests to
Mhm.
suppress the wages of Americans and reduce our opportunities by employing people from other countries who may be here on indentured servitude arrangements, or they're desperate or whatever. And it's a story as old as time. This has been going on many administrations before. They've just ramped it up. I want to get back to something you said about the COVID thing. I want to entertain your conspiracy theory and give you a rabbit hole to go down. So, in Canada, there's a lab in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and a bunch of Chinese nationals, scientists working there, were kicked out for doing a bunch of like suspicious stuff.
Mhm.
Went back to Wuhan, where that's where they came from. It was like an exchange scientific research thing. And not long after they got back to Wuhan, all hell breaks loose. And, obviously the Canadian government doesn't advertise it. The media doesn't talk about this. But if you look around, you will find articles detailing what happened with these Chinese scientists and how there is another theory that the COVID didn't actually start in China. It started in Canada. The research was being done by Chinese nationals
Yeah,
in Canada. They took it
yeah.
home and then released it there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because do you think a cruise ship brought it over? You remember there was a cruise ship right over there, and that was when it was back then. It was just a joke, right? Coronavirus. Oh man, I had the memes of the Corona beer, and it was just a joke then. People are sick on this ship and everything. And then all of a sudden they let them go and they come back in the United States. And then all of a sudden the whole freaking it was a pandemic all over the freaking country by a cruise ship. No, no, it wasn't. It was brought over here mass. Just like you said, it's not surprising to me at all. Absolutely 100%. And I believe it. I believe it because I never believed that it came over here on a cruise ship or a couple of airplanes. Absolutely not. The way that it hit, and but then here's the deal also. The government, because this was an election year and they're playing into this. All right, so in 2020, my wife had a ruptured brain aneurysm. She almost died. Took her down to a hospital in Temple, Texas, where they had to do emergency surgery on her and all that. So I'm going from where they brought her in on the helicopter to the ICU, whatever you call it, critical, whatever it's called, and I'm getting on this special elevator that all the just the doctors use because it was a special, different part. And then there was like two, three different elevators, and they had one elevator crossed off, and then they had one floor that they you couldn't go on. And I'm in there in the elevator. It says, "Oh, what's that about? Is that because of COVID? Just small talk." It's like, yeah, but no one's in there, right? It's empty. It's no one uses that elevator. But the media wanted to you to think that it's so bad here, especially here like in Temple, Texas, because you got a whole floor of COVID people. There, it was empty. So even in those first early stages, this was May in 2020. It was still kind of it actually peaked in the fall, I believe. But even then, they were just trying to make some news, some big news out of that. Um, just because it was an election year, just to get him out of office. Because listen, again, the economy was doing good. I do remember it was doing good, but then after that, during that it sucked, and the recovery took a while, and so of course they blame it all on Trump, right? Of course, Trump just plays into it because it's like all of a sudden he wants to get everyone to take the vaccine. Because it's like Operation Warp Speed. Oh, we got to hurry up and get this vaccine and all that. Not doing any testing. So Trump is not. Trump was being played, I believe, it was by the Fauci and all that. But I mean, that's not trucking related. We could go down that rabbit hole. But that's when it started. Right there is when it exploded. And in 2021, 22, you talk to all these company owners, and I've been fortunate to talk to some company owners. I never would be able to say that 10 years ago. And I'm fortunate to know who I know now, and I could pick their brain a little bit. And yeah, and you see it as drivers going east to west on 40, 70, and all that. Those used to be American truck, usually teams. And now, super Sergey solo
Strong
people,
solo Sergey, yeah.
strong, yeah, that's what it is. Strong solo Sergey. Those guys are doing it. They're not in a team anymore, and they're doing that all day long. And go out there to Tucumcari, New Mexico, and see if you feel like you're in a third world country because you'll feel like it at the truck stops at least.
Yeah,
And
there's hey, so you do you follow other social media? So Bonehead Truckers, as far as I know, is on YouTube, but are you on any of the other socials?
um, yeah, but YouTube is my bread and butter. I'm a video guy. Facebook. I post stuff there. You got to have a little bit of a presence there. My buddy Alex, my Asian, does some other trucking news.
Yeah.
He posts everywhere, and I just ain't got that in me. I just ain't got that in me. So I usually do the YouTube is main. But I'll throw pictures on Instagram and Facebook, and then
There's a
Twitter is where X is really where I get a lot of my current information. I'm searching down through there, and a lot of times it's just like it's a big, huge black pill, especially here in the last couple of days. It's like, man, screw this. I'm getting off. I'm just gonna go back to comedy videos. Freaking Duffy sucks. Chattanooga sucks. Everything sucks. That's why I was last night. I
Yeah.
was like, man, I'm out of here. Y'all have fun with this crap. I'm not
There's
wasting my
well,
time. I,
there's a reason I was asking about the other socials. There's a guy I had on my show here a few months ago who's a prominent trucker talk TikToker. His name is Wolfgang Wendland, and he does
yeah.
these videos where he documents what's going on in truck stops. And so you mentioned Tucumcari, Third World, and Wolfgang's just like, he just does videos of the like people trying to like back up and move around in truck stops, and it's all chaos. And holy cow, it's a mess out there.
Yeah. Well, now, well, that's I do have a TikTok for Bonehead Truckers has a TikTok. I got a little personal thing. I do more watching on TikTok than anything else. I'm not a shorts kind of guy. Like I wear shorts, but I just don't like doing the short videos. To me, first of all, they don't pay a darn thing. Second of all, it's just so freaking tedious, and I hate doing them. It doesn't have to pay for me to do something, right? If I enjoy doing something, I'll do it if it didn't pay or not. I don't have fun doing short videos.
I feel the
But
same way about writing. I like to go long and get all the details in and make an argument and have enough. I want people to know that I'm not making this stuff up. So
mhm.
I beat them over the head a little bit with too much detail. I've gotten in fights with editors about like trying to make my articles shorter, and I'm back working full time now, so I'm not writing as much, but I do feel you about let's do long form. Let's get the whole story out, right?
It's funny because when it comes to typing out stuff for social media posts, especially on X or places like that. I don't do much Facebook on my personal side. It's just all Bonehead Truckers. I'm kind of over Facebook, but I do some stuff for the family and whatnot. But um, I enjoy doing long form content videos wise. But when it comes to typing, man, if I could get my point across in 2 or 3 sentences, I'm good. So times it takes me longer, but I'm really short when it comes to that. I'm long and short, man. I tell you what. I guess that's I won't go there.
uh, so the comedy videos, now that we're done with conspiracy theories and politics here, we'll take a little break and talk about the comedy.
Yeah.
And I think, well, I mean, the title of your show, Bonehead Truckers, right? That implies that truckers are doing boneheaded things, and they
Hmm.
do. And that's attached to all the problems we talk about, the driver shortage narrative, all the CDL mills, all the people constantly being brought into the business that don't know what they're doing. Well, those people that don't know what they're doing get into situations that to us, the experienced guys that do know what we are doing, that's comedy. To us, that's funny. Now,
Yeah.
the I think what you do really well that I am not very good at is relaying that stuff in a humorous fashion, right? So there's things that like are funny to us as truckers, but you sort of have to know trucking and know the culture and know what's
Yeah.
going on and know the names of the companies and know the stereotypes, know the cultures. And your ability is to take all that and make it funny for people that don't know anything about trucking, right?
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
never do that. Like you've got a funny bone.
Yeah. So it's main way I describe it is getting on after a long day driving a truck. This is what we used to do before the internet and before we had all the YouTube streaming, Netflix, and all that kind of stuff. Because now I think a lot of people just get in their sleeper and they just start watching stuff. But back in the early days of my career, at least, you
You
didn't
all
have
hang
all
out.
that. You hang out at the truck stop after a long day, and either
That's
you're out
gone, unfortunately.
yeah. You're out there talking outside or you're just sitting there on the radio. Channel 19 is just blowing up and whoever's got the biggest radio wins. There's hate and discontent and it's all fun. You're fighting, you're calling each other names, but then you say, man, I'm going to go inside and have a cup of coffee or have a steak or whatever. And then y'all go up in there and cut up, and it's just all a good time. And that's what it is. You're blowing off steam, and that's basically that attitude that I'm kind of bringing to the Bonehead Truckers, is on the comedy side. And because listen, I get the comment like this, like, "Oh man, you should not be so hard on them and all that." I was like, dude, I'll give you an example. Waxahachie, Texas at Owens Corning. I am a greenhorn. I hadn't been on the road by myself very long. I was driving for Werner Enterprises.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and I go over there and they said drop the trailer over here. Like, okay. I dropped the trailer and thinking I'm doing good. Yard driver comes up, he's all pissed. He says, "Hey, rookie, have a little pride in your work. Get it all closer." And he used some choice words. Get it closer and straighten it up. We got other trailers we got to fit in here. And at that time, I could have just huffed and puffed. I was a little pissed, but I was like, yeah, he's kind of right. So I'll just go ahead and do it and get up on out of here and not make a scene. But that's the way we used to do it back then, right? It was just like, we would help out, right? A lot of people get that twisted. Oh, people, just talking on the radio back then. It was just talking on the radio, making fun of us. We would help. We'd help on the radio, help in person. Because here's the deal. On the flip side, say if there's a guy that sends me a video and he's filming a guy having a trouble backing into a dock, usually I don't put those on there unless, you know, I will actually get onto the driver filming. I will get on the driver filming and I will roast him for not getting out there and helping him. Instead of recording him, he could have helped him. Or if he wanted content to send in, he could record as he's helping him. And that way we're showing a good example over here. But I'll get on to him just for that. If there's an opportunity to help, in a nice way, then do it. I'll get on to him for that. Because, a lot of this stuff, 'cause here's another thing. A lot of people think, oh, it's just wrecks. I mean, these videos maybe show a couple of wrecks a video. I'm sitting there talking about flip flops. Okay, my best selling shirts is real truckers don't wear flip flops. Okay, that's my best selling shirt. And because people think that drivers think it, but they don't want to say it to the driver. They don't want to cause a scene. But if they wear a shirt inside a truck stop, they don't have to say anything. The shirt says it itself. And that's how I do all my shirts. And
So I want to tell you a little story. Just on flip flops. We'll pause here for a minute. So, I wear flip flops in the summertime, when it's hot, and the baddest ass truck drivers in the world are friends in Australia who drive road trains.
yeah,
Often
I know where you're
also
going with this.
often also wear flip flops because when uh you're in the outback and you're towing three trailers and the engine's working its heart out and the air conditioning can't keep up. It's 110, 120 degrees outside. The sun's beating on the road, beating on the truck, beating on the cab. You cannot possibly keep yourself cool in that truck. You try and roll the windows down, the air outside, it's worse. You just can't, there's nothing you can do to stay cold or stay cool. I used to drive in my underwear when I was working in Australia because it was so damn hot and the AC couldn't keep up with it. And every single truck driver in Australia wears flip flops. Now, when they get on a job site, when they go deliver, when they're loading, they put on long pants because Australian health and safety rules are even more strict than ours. They're very, very strict about that shit in Australia. When you're on site, steel toe boots, long sleeves, long pants, all the stuff, hard hat. They make OSHA look like libertarians. Australians are crazy. They are super whack with that shit. But as soon as that driver leaves the facility, boof, rugby shorts, flip flops, done.
Yeah, I think when I met you at Mid America last year, we may have had that brief because I remember talking about Australia, and yes, I get Aussies. They watch the videos, and a lot of they used to send me videos because I'd request them, either videos or pictures of the road trains. Those are the freaking coolest things in the world. And as a matter of fact, I even made it a point in a lot of my videos, like sitting there saying, Hey, if anyone wants to sponsor me to go to Australia and I'll just tag along just to experience that going all the way across the continent. Is Australia a continent? Let me get
Yeah,
this
it's
out.
it's it's a continent and a country at the same time. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, okay.
it's
I
the
didn't
world's
make sure,
biggest
but I didn't.
island. Yeah,
I was like, oh, this freaking dumbass doesn't even know what a freaking continent is. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
it's roughly the
Um,
same size as the continental United States, roughly.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
huge. And so I would love to experience that, but I would have the Australians email me or send me comments say, "Hey, I'm over here in Australia. We wear flip flops all the time." But I always go to say because people send me videos all the time sitting there saying, at a truck stop, people wearing flip flops. I was like, dude, they're at a truck stop. They're on their break. I don't care as long as you're at your ship and receiver wearing something clean, wearing shoes and representing us. Because listen, a lot of people say mind your own business, right? That is my business because you kind of represent me as I represent you. We have to, as a whole, if we want respect out here, we have to conduct ourselves and dress appropriately at our customer. Okay, because you can't go up in there smelling like ass and have that shipper sitting there thinking, oh man, this is the nicest guy in the world. Because if they think you're the nicest guy in the world, when you go up in there, there's an opportunity that you may get loaded up a little bit faster. Okay. And also in the bigger picture, they may think, well, this company has, they had their drivers are on their ride on, right? They're dressed well, they act well, they're clean shaven, they take a shower before they come here. And it's just like, oh, we want to do more business with this company rather than this company where they don't care about their presentation and their attitude. Attitude is everything as well. Um, so, I mean, again, that is the whole point of Bonehead Truckers. It's not just the accidents. Accidents is what kind of draws a lot of people in. The main message is professionalism and being well trained, and that's a biggest part of training. I don't know how the standards were in I want to say Canada, but here
He
it's like,
almost said Canada, which is hilarious.
uh, so you go and but way I did it when I went to my trucking school, right? But I went to Warner, and I had like 2 or 3 months of freaking having training there. That's your main training. I mean, you go through a trucking school. If you go to a good trucking school, you'll pick a lot of stuff up. And I was fortunate with that. But basically they're just trying to get you your CDL. Your real training is after you get your CDL and you get out there on the road. And that's where a lot of these people, even if they go to a 4 week training, it's just enough for these foreigners and anybody, not just foreigners. They'd be a low IQ retard and they could go and just barely pass it. And these trucking schools, they don't care because they're getting the money. They just get them out of, and that's someone else's problem. And
Often the taxpayers, because a lot of these CDL mills are subsidized by us.
mhm, yeah, but and then they go to this company and they just realize that's the reason why they got a big high turnover rate. No one prepares them, and then no one vets them. The whole recruiting process to be a truck driver needs to be started at the trucking school level. When I got my CDL, I had to go through like a little counselor there at that trucking school that is a longtime truck driver, been out there 40, 50 years, and all did, he had the gravy job is just to sit there and talk to kids like me and sit there and ask them questions, talk trucking, and see if trucking was right for you. And he would tell people, say, hey, this is probably not going to be a good job for you. You know, and we need a lot of that. We need some vetting, and it's not just for the foreigners; it's for everyone.
That's for
And
everybody. Well, one of the things I talk about in my book, and I think is, one of the things I tried to do with my book that's coming out in March is explain how we got here, right?
mhm.
So, there's people asking about this. My only social media is Twitter, Substack a little bit, but Substack's more like a publishing platform for me. I don't really engage with notes too much over there. Anyhow, um, there's people who are asking, how did this happen? sometimes it's a rhetorical question because they're like rage farming and getting engagement bait, because I'll get in the replies and I'll say, well, as a matter of fact, I know how it happened and I wrote a book about it, or here's an article, and then they ignore me. Because a lot of, as you probably know, a lot of, because of Elon bucks, the incentive structure at Twitter is about engagement and rage rather than actually like solving problems.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
anyway, in my book, and I try and show people the sort of recent history. And yes, we have a problem with the F word people today, but before it was what I call local lumpenproles, right? The lumpen proletariat's a word from Karl Marx to describe long-term unemployed people who are not necessarily the working class or like the next tier down. And these CDL mills and people like Swift and all the rest of it will get money from the government to try and get those people off welfare, off unemployment, and put them in trucks. And they're not all those people don't necessarily have the work ethic, the drive, the necessary cultural affects. They're just not meant to be truckers. But the government believes that you can just take any doorknob and put them behind the wheel. And because they thought they had that attitude for so many decades, you were able to start a YouTube channel on all the videos from it. And it's not new. This has been going on since like the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And the latest iteration of that is the foreigners now, right? Because
Yeah.
most Americans now, mid 2000s, 20 aughts, anybody can go on the internet and do research. They can go on YouTube, they can find your channel, and they're like, oh man, some recruiter guy, someone told me I should go trucking. They go on YouTube, they find your channel, they find me, they find anybody, and they're like, oh shit, man, this is actually a bad deal. And so they stop going, right? They understand that there's a very high turnover problem. The money's not what they crack it out to be. You got to live in places like slums in Tucumcari, wherever. You're high chances of getting in an accident. Truck drivers like in the top 10 most dangerous occupations in the country. There's a lot of problems in the business. That's not to say that it
Yeah.
doesn't have good stuff.
Yeah.
So these people do that. They do a little bit of homework and they're like, whoa, I'm not doing this. So
Yeah.
then COVID happens, and then all this other stuff happens. Like, it's a very complex story with a bunch of different factors. But one of the main ones is local F people, whatever you want to call them, that are not very good at things, are like, I'm not going trucking no more. So the government, instead of like saying, okay, cool, maybe we should pay people better, maybe we shouldn't have so much detention, maybe truckers should be utilized better, maybe we should pay them overtime, maybe we should do this stuff to make the job better. That's never in part of the equation. It's always find somebody to do it cheaper, get them in the truck faster, and that's part of why we see the penetration from insourced labor.
Yeah. The F word, foreigner. I get a little bit of a chuckle because around April, May, that bill in Oklahoma, SB 20, they were trying to push that through. They're trying, it was a different rule or a different law a different bill, I should say, had to pertain with like four wheelers, like ATVs and crap. Um, they took it out and reworded it and everything. And then, and all that. And Shannon calls me up and he says, "Hey man, can we get some eyes on this? We need some eyes on this to try to get this through. Get your viewers to call the governor." I'm like, okay. So I get up on a video and do that, and I use the word foreigners, 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 and then I get a call, and Shannon Everett, Shannon Everett is all calm. He talks really low. He talks like this. Hey, Ike,
Yeah,
Ike, you can't
I know
you
that voice.
you can you got to say non-domiciles. We're talking about politicians. They don't like the F word. They don't like foreigners. You have to say non-domicile CDLs. And so, which is funny because we go full circle. We go full circle that now that Duffy Duff gets his press conference in front of the blue freaking thing, okay, and he says foreigners. And I'm like, yes, it's
Yes.
freaking the Overton window has shifted over to my side. And then all of a sudden you see Shannon Everett. He may not get on there and say foreigners, but he'll make tweets say foreigners. Okay, it depends
Yeah,
on who his audience he's trying to
yeah.
pertain to.
Shannon's been at it long enough now, and he's had the meetings with the high level people, and he understands the game that has to be played. And
Yeah,
you see this in other countries too, right? So the problem with the F people is not unique to the United States. We have it in Canada. I'm writing a big article right now for my Substack. It's taking me forever because of work, whatever. It's coming out soon, and I explore the the problem in other countries, and I try and sort of like put it all together for people to explain it's not just the United States, and it's not just because Biden. Like, this is a
yeah,
worldwide problem,
oh yeah.
and there are leaders in governments in other countries who are forcing this because it's
Hmm.
advantageous to them to get their citizens to send money back home, amongst other reasons, right? And so it's happening in Australia, it's happening in New Zealand, it's happening in Europe. It's not just the United States.
No.
And um, the same, so I get where Shannon's coming from. He's doing it for a legitimate reason. He's actually trying to fix things. There are
Yeah.
other people who do that because they're trying to cover for it, right? So
Yeah.
I'll give you a little story from back home in Canada. So here in the United States, we have the American Trucking Associations. Scumbags, been pushing the driver shortage narrative forever. They don't represent drivers. They don't even represent their member carriers. They represent the companies those carriers haul stuff for in order to keep freight rates cheap, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
The Canadian equivalent of that is called the Canadian Trucking Alliance, the CTA. Terrible people. They were against the Freedom Convoy. They lied about them. They pushed the same crap about a driver shortage narrative. They're doing the exact same thing as the ATA back home in Canada. However, the CTA they know exactly what's going on, and they also know that the F people are eating their lunch or eating their members' lunch, and they know that they've created their own monster, right? By allowing all of this stuff happen and encouraging it by saying there's a shortage of drivers, which the government translates as cool, let's bring in more of the F people.
Yeah.
Well, the F people come in, screw it all up, and now the CTA are scrambling, going, holy shit, all these F people are eating our lunch, and these are the different ways they're doing it. But the CTA will never name the F people. They just won't
Mm.
do it, right? So they
Yeah.
say we have this problem called driver incorporated, right? So it's the 1099 model. You don't pay taxes. The company you work for don't pay taxes. It's a bit of a scam. And so that's their new term that they've been pushing out for a few years now, driver Inc. But if you actually translate what that means, it means Indians because it's
Yeah.
always them. But
Yeah.
CTA are like Shannon. They're like, well, we can't say F people. We can't say Indians because a whole bunch of people in the government in Canada now are Indians. And if we actually say that, they're going to kick our asses out and we're never going to get anything fixed.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it's not going to get fixed anyway because the Indians don't want it to get fixed. But that's another story.
Right. Yeah, it's funny to watch this how this evolved in this last year. How much has this has shifted. For years, the ATA and OOIDA and all these other little organizations that are right there with them had the opportunity to fix this a long time ago. OOIDA could have Todd Spencer, I'll say names when Todd Spencer and Chris Spear can sit there in the media or sit there in front of Congress and act like they're on the opposite sides when they're going to parties together. They're friends, okay? And I was talking to Harvey Beach today on the phone. We were talking about that exact same thing. It was like, I'm not friends with my enemy. I'm not going to be hanging out and being cordial with my enemy on the opposite side. Okay. Unless it's a friendly game, this is not a friendly freaking game. These people, especially the drivers that are out there now, the company owners, the civilians driving the cars. This is life and death. This is between if you're going to make it, you're not going to make it, or you're going to get ran over, or you're going to get ran off the road, whatever. This means so this whole business of being friends behind the scenes while we're all that's been the problem for so many years. The ATA back in 2018, 2019, Harvey will go post it every now and then. He may post after here's this just as a reminder. That the ATA in a letter to either the Congress or FMCSA or both says, "Hey, we feel it's right to allow foreigners driving a truck." And they say this. They're not going to publicly say that, but they're going to say it in these letters that they don't think that's going to get out. That's the reason why you've got all these people that are pissed off at the ATA that maybe either used to be in the ATA or they know somebody. I went to a meeting. I'm not going to say where. I'm not going to say who. You can probably put two and two together. I was talking to the owner of one of the companies, medium-sized companies, got fairly decent sized trucks. A member of the Arkansas Trucking Association and the ATA. I I agree with everything you say. Like, good, that's great. I'm glad he had this little pin on his deal, and I was like, but I'm a part of it. I was like, why can't you get out? It's like it's not that simple. It's not that simple. They could have fixed all this years ago, but they wanted it to happen. How come it takes a couple of rednecks, in Arkansas, and then some of us social media people that ain't got no business talking politics like me, okay, getting out here and making all the difference in the freaking world. In just 1 year, we've done more than the OOIDA has done against the ATA. We have we have pushed we have pushed against the driver shortage narrative that they've been pushing, where so much that Duffy Duff gets in these press conferences and says, "Hey, there is no driver shortage. It's a myth. I got that clip. It's never going away. I have it on a hard drive."
Yeah,
And
no, that
then
was
guess
amazing.
what? ATA says, "Okay, well, okay, the driver shortage ain't as bad as what it was."
Yeah,
Really?
they've all turned. That's a great point. Like, they've all turned in the last year. Seeing Duffy admit it was awesome. The highest authority on trucking in the land. There's no shortage. We've got the capacity. However, he worded it to that reporter. Awesome. Good for you, Duffy, for telling the truth. I'm when I saw Spear and ATA economist Bob Costello starting to pivot about that in the fall, a few press statements and stuff, I'm like, you sons of bitches, you've been saying this for 38 years now as a matter of your policy, and you have been up there in Washington, D.C. You have caused all these problems based on this thing you've been pushing that you knew was not true. And now
Mhm.
you're like doing a pivot. And why are you doing a pivot? Because you can't ignore it anymore. Why can't you ignore it anymore? Because Bonehead Truckers has 200. How many people subscribe to your show?
Three 300,000.
So you have 300,000 subscribers. Shannon Everett is now having meetings with USDOT. He's got 50,000 people on his Twitter. Danielle's putting all the details and research, and we're doing really good on Freight and I've been writing in all kinds of mainstream magazines saying this is bullshit. I've been talking about the driver shortage narrative thing as bullshit basically since I started writing online like 8 years ago. And it's finally like everybody's starting to listen. Like, fuck yeah,
Yeah.
man. And
Yeah. Because
it,
we're real opposition, not this fake stuff that OOIDA and ATA have. We are real opposition against the ATA's narrative.
yeah. And, so I want to get to the spicy parts here, right? So, like, I got you on my show. You're very famous online for being combative. You've gone after not only people on the bad side of things, ATA and others, but people that should be our friends, OIDA and the
Yeah.
Chattanooga folks and Truck Parking Club, and I would probably get in a lot of shit from people if I didn't ask you about your combative style and why you pick fights with people online in the way you do. So
So,
please tell us what animates your drive to do this.
first of all, I am not on social media to make friends. Well, that's case number one. Now, if friends happen, naturally, I'm good with that. You know what I mean? I like having friends. But I'm not going to force it. I'm not going to go and sit there and hang out with Truck Parking Club because I may get a few bucks out of it and some recognition. Listen, I've been down that road. I've been on YouTube for a long time. I've been that guy before when I was just a vlogger. And I'd have stars in my eyes when someone would come by and say, "Hey, I will throw some money at you, or throw some viewers your way if you say our name, or you just do this." And I see content creators do that, and it drives me nuts. I don't have a problem with Truck Parking Club. I think it's a great tool. I always thought that when I first saw it, it's like, man, that is a good tool to have. I My number one thing that I did not like when I first started seeing it and hearing about it from truck drivers, um, is when they would see what, hey, this place used to be free. This truck stop used to be free. Truck stop. And now I see these yellow signs everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, that sucks. I'll call them out on it. And obviously, they don't like being called out on it. I have nothing against the people over there. I think it's great marketing that they do. They do a good job at what they do. Um, but some people don't like it when I stand firm on my position and my principle. And again, I'm not out here to make friends. All right. That's my number one thing. And then when it comes to OIDA, I've always been a fan of OIDA. Always have. I've been an on and off again member for many, many years. I'm a member now. Um, the reason why I'm a member now is because shortly after, I believe it was a Mother's Day wreck, um, Todd Spencer was up there with Duffy Duff in Texas, as a matter of fact, and they had a press conference, and he says, "Hey, I'd like to thank so and so, so and so, and Shannon Everett of the ATU, to making this happen." I was like, "Okay, we got him. We got OIDA on our side, and all this kind of stuff. Great, we got Todd Spencer to get up from his nap and doing all that, and then he so I became a member. I got like 3, 4, 5 years. I don't know. I was just like, okay, man, I'm going to support anybody who is on our side on this. May not agree 100%. Like I'm 100% with OIDA on a lot of things, but then they come out with this 5688, HR 56, which basically puts what we have now into law, which they love. They love saying that it codifies this rule that we have from FNCSA. We just make it a law now. Hang on, let's point out some loopholes in this that allows foreigners to keep on. And the simple little words, at the discretion of the secretary. Okay, that works good for us now because our secretary, Duffy Duff, likes the word foreigners like I like it. But the next guy may not like that. So, we got to be nice to these people that want to come over here, these asylum seekers or whatever they
So
whatever
on the note about 5688, I want to share a little something that happened to me a couple of weeks ago here. I couldn't believe it. So I live in upstate New York, not too far from my native land of snow monkeys. And there's snow monkeys around here too, kind of. We're north of the Mason-Dixon line. And I get this phone call. I was literally out shoveling my driveway. And my phone rings. I'm like, oh, DC, what? 202, DC? Who's calling me from DC? This must be important, or I'm in trouble. Maybe ICE is coming to get me.
They're coming.
So I answer the phone, and it was one of the legislative directors for my local congressman. And this nice lady, and she said, hey, Gord, we because I had sent out emails to about 6 different Congress people about my book and about trucking related issues. I'm like, hey, I'm writing this book. I had a congressman on my podcast a couple of years ago, this guy, Jeff Van Drew from New Jersey. And I thought to myself, I'm going to pick 6 congressmen, send out my book stuff. If any of them respond, great. If not, whatever. So I figured my local one and then 5 others. So my local Congress people call me and they're like, hey, we looking at some of your stuff and you said you had some commentary about, trucking things, and we don't get too many calls from truckers, and we'd love, what do you have to say? I was like, yeah, hell, they actually called me. I said to this lady, I'm like, I'm flabbergasted you called, democracy in action. So I said to her, there's 2 pieces of legislation before Congress right now that I'm particularly interested in, and here are my opinions on them. And one of them was the Guaranteeing Overtime for Truckers Act, and then the other one was this 5688 thing. And I said and my local Congress guy is a Democrat, and I said to this lady, I'm like, look, the Republicans have put this bill together to try and fix up some of the stuff you've seen in the news, the crashes, the non-domiciled CDLs, the English, all that stuff. And I said, it's not a bad bill, except this loophole. So I
Yeah.
said to her, I says, if you can get, Josh Riley, I think his name is, if you can get Congressman Riley to work with the Republicans and say, I will vote for your bill if you take out this line. There
Yeah.
will be no exemption. There will be no secretary shall issue. Just take that line out of it, and it's a fine bill. So that's what I
Yeah.
told my Congress critter.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I feel like a lot of these bills may just fall, they try to push these things underneath the rug and hopefully no one hears about it. And who was it that told me? Shannon Everett. He's the source of everything that all these deals, right? He tells me, "Did you see this?" Like, no, I read it. Oh, right there. And then COY, they're trying to quietly push it. They were hoping, but and I don't know why. I don't know for love. Maybe it's because they're not reading these things, or they're in bed with these people. I don't know why in the world they would go and read that and say, "Hey, this is a great bill. It's perfect. Is what we need." They're smart enough. I'm not calling them dumb, but sometimes they just don't want to read, or maybe they're just again, they got a pack. They give money to these politicians. It's all public. They don't give as much as ATA gives them, but they still give them money. And it's just like what's the deal here? Can we work together? And instead of hey Ike, and Shannon, whoever's talking about it, y'all got a point. It's oh man, they double down. They'll Louis Pugh that they put that guy up there. Let's rah rah rah. Let's support this. This is what truckers want and all this. And I'm like, and every time he makes a video, I'm going to make a video response. I guarantee you, until this bill is done, I will shake his hand and be his buddy. But when it comes to this bill, I'm against them on, and I'm against OI to own. And I just wish they would see the light on it and say, hey, maybe they could go work with David Rouser and try to get that taken out. Because outside of that, okay, good. We don't want no visas. We don't want no visas ever. None. If American truck drivers can't do it, then we got a doggone problem. I feel like Americans have, hey, we got enough. If if we want higher pay, if we want higher qualifications, okay, there needs to be a driver shortage, 100%. But we don't fix it by bringing in foreigners or autonomous trucks. We
No,
fix
because
it.
these are band-aids. The use
Yeah,
of F people, the use of flooding in lumpen proles, local idiots. All they're doing, they are not fixing the deeper structural problems, the 40% detention time everybody
yeah,
deals with, the
yeah,
lack of training, the
yeah.
nobody's fixing the material conditions of the job. There's so much other stuff going on, and that leads to people quitting, which causes churn and retention problems. They call it a shortage. And then they just keep throwing people at it because they're not fixing the primary issues. And as long as they're allowed to keep band-aiding, putting a band-aid on it with visas for people from overseas, they're never going to fix the primary issues.
No, they're not. And so that's my issue. When we talk about all these people, just kind of, those spicy stuff, and everyone's probably going to sit there and listen to this and say, "Do I hear my name?" It's like, listen, I don't hate anybody. When I come on here and I say I'm not on here to make friends, that may sound combative. That may sound standoffish. But I've been down this road before. I don't like fake friends. I don't like being fake. I just want to be 100% real. And if a friendship blossoms out of something, that's awesome. That's perfect. It's naturally going to happen. Okay. I feel like I lean towards certain people, right? And I feel like, oh man, me and that guy could be friends. We could sit there and be buddies and talk about stuff other than trucking. We could talk about fishing. We could talk about friggin' sports. We could talk about, I'm a ham radio guy. A lot of people may not know. A lot of people do know that I'm a ham radio guy. If I'm not doing this, Like I'm vice president of our radio club, and I'm big into that. Like a lot of times when I go missing, off of Twitter or whatever, a lot of times I'm dealing with that. Like yesterday, I had no idea we had breaking news yesterday because I was off doing radio stuff with my buddies, you know. But that's just it. But I don't agree with being in a clique. Cliques suck. And when I sit there and I get on LinkedIn, are you on LinkedIn?
I am, but I don't post on it very much. They don't like me over there, so I just
Yeah,
don't give
they
them
don't.
any attention.
I, I listen. I troll them, but I just go back and I look and they go to these stupid little conferences. They got brokers. And that's how we're big expert in the transportation and logistics and supply chain. They're too afraid to say trucking. They can't say trucking in anything, and it's like, but we're the experts. I saw one of a Freightliner was at this whatever this crap was in Las Vegas or whatever, full of people that didn't know freaking anything about driving a truck.
It
It's
does it
like,
does feel like they treat the term trucking, which is to say the industry, the act of moving things with a truck, as if it's a
yeah.
dirty word they can't be associated with.
They started that years ago with these truck stops. They stopped calling them truck stops and calling them travel centers. You know, Petro was like the last one that will say, "Hey, professional drivers sit in this area." I don't know. There may be some that still do that, but for the most part, it's like, "Hey, trucks them back, and get in, get out, get your stupid Arby's, and get up on out of here. We don't want you here." That's what they treat us like, and I'm not afraid to say truck driver. I'm not afraid to say trucking, truckers, and all that. The Mid America Trucking Show. I'm there. Texas Trucking Show. I'm there. If it's got a trucking in its name, all these other things that they got in Chattanooga. I was talking to somebody. I'm not going to say who it was. I don't want to throw him under the bus. We probably all know him. There wasn't any freaking trucking company owners there, but about three or four out of all those people over there at that big old thing last year. And freaking, there was the rest of them were brokers, all the LinkedIn people, all the freaking, oh, they're good buddies on LinkedIn. I love going on there just because, listen, Twitter gets boring. I'm tired of seeing the same thing over and over. Let's go over here and see if I could get triggered by people sitting there taking little selfies with each other. Oh, look at us. We're so cool. We're in the in crowd. Truckers don't respect that. They don't. They're not moved. They're not phased by it. What are you going to do to make a trucker's life better? How you going to make his pay better? Trucking company owners, big or small, owner operators, how you going to make their life better? You're not. No, it's all this big clique. I don't deal well with cliques. I just don't. I see them over here, see them over there, and all this kind of stuff. Bonehead Truckers. When you go to my booth, you're gonna come to my booth and you can sell some books. Sell as many books as you want at my booth. But when you come, you're gonna see a buddy of mine I've known for 15 years. You old YouTuber, old truck driver. He's out of the truck. He's retired. He's gonna be up there helping me man it. But you're going to see viewers, you're going to see truck drivers come up in there and sit and talk and have a good time and just talk trucking. Because that's what we always do. When I go to the truck show, whether I have a booth or not, I find myself drawn to truck drivers and we sit there and talk trucking. And this has always happened. And sometimes it's the same guy, but I go to these shows and some of these older guys, and I'm talking about guys that are in their 70s and their 80s, and they watch Bonehead Truckers, they watch Asian Mai, they watch all these people. All they want to do is tell you their freaking stories. And me, as a 47, almost 48-year-old, and I feel like I'm in my mid part of my life, I still look up to those guys that's been doing way longer than I do. And they got stories to tell, and I want to listen. Like you've heard my story on YouTube. You've heard me do my spiel. I want to hear yours. And sitting there hanging out with all these people that tuck in their shirt and wear their stupid looking khakis and all this crap that don't even fit in with my crowd. Okay. And listen, Shannon and all those guys, they wear suits and they'll laugh because, it's like, man, I just have to be in, because I tell them, it's like, hey, I don't listen. If we ever go to DC, all right, I'm outside. Don't even bring me into the Capitol. Don't want to have anything to do. I'll be outside though with my people. But hey, I'm all for those guys. But my people are the freaking truck drivers, not some freaking yuppies that have a piece of paper in their wall that says they're an expert at trucking and never been around a truck, don't know anything about the business or anything about it. And that's what you see at these conventions and these other conventions, not the truck shows, not the place where they have actual trucks outside to go gawk at. And so that's my standpoint on this. Again, I love friends come. They go sometimes, but they come and I make longtime friends. But I'm not searching for them. So I'm not anyone's enemy out there that's out, that's saying, "Oh man, Ike's talking about these people in Chattanooga." Listen, Chattanooga's Chattanooga. That's a rabbit hole that I'll cover on my own. I don't want to burn your bridges with anybody. I
No,
love to burn my bridges. Um,
no,
I
I see.
pick and choose my bridges.
I did have to ask, because you're well known for this, and that's fine. I love it. Um, on the point about guys coming and hanging out at your booth or hanging out at the truck show and the older guys, one of the things I tried to do when I started my own audio podcast here a couple of years ago is I feel the same way. There's lots of really good old guys. I've been very blessed in my career. I worked on the ice. I went to Australia. I've done some pretty cool stuff, and everywhere
Yeah.
I went, there was always the older guys that have been doing it forever who have the best stories. You love listening to them. And I
Yep.
wanted to get them and put their stories on my podcast. And I've only got a couple, my buddy Gavin, my Uncle Chris. And I think here's a problem I'd love for us to solve somehow, or maybe some guys that are more out. I think a lot of older gentlemen are afraid, not afraid, maybe afraid's the wrong word. They're uneasy about being on shows. I've had a few
Yeah.
people say to me, "Oh, I don't know about being on a show." They don't understand that it's just like a recording like this. They're not
Mm.
on the radio in front of people live. They're not on a stage. But some folks just get like antsy about that. And I remember the first time I ever got asked to be on a podcast, I was extremely nervous. That's like back
Yeah.
in 2017. And I was like, "Whoa, man, what am I supposed to say?" And I was all
Yeah.
nervous and wooden. And
Hmm.
but like I've gotten better at it. And what I want to do that I haven't gotten, again, part of it is guys are uneasy about doing it, and part of it is like they're busy. I think like we, as the sort of trucking social media commentators, whatever, people who have these platforms, is get these stories on, like, in perpetuity,
Yes.
get them
Yeah.
down, because
Yeah.
like that's a piece of history, that's oral history, that means
Yes.
something, that contributes to the culture, it's meaningful to us. This is why we seek it out, this is why we go to mats, all these truck shows, and hang out at the truck stop and talk to the older men in our lives that have been there, done it, have all these awesome stories. Great to listen to. You learn something. It's a convivial hangout. It's a very human experience. And I want to get more of those things, like, recorded for
Yes.
posterity.
Yeah.
I don't do you do any interviews on your show, or is it just like making fun of shit?
So, well, that's kind of the thing on YouTube. That you have to evolve. You can't do the same thing over and over again. It is so my next little thing um is I'm going to do a little bit more interviews, more controlled, kind of like this, right? And I'd like for you to, come on and we could do some. Now, mine's not going to be long form like this. It's not going to be an hour or 2 hours or however. I enjoy doing these things. My thing is, I'll take a conversation that we're having, I'll break it up in 15-minute clips and I'll use them for a long, long time. Right. Same thing with the drivers. Now, when it comes to drivers, I want to go into the field. I'm close to truck stops, truck shows and whatnot. A lot of people, like you say, a lot of these older guys, they're wanting to tell you their story, okay, and just say, "Hey, man, do you mind if I get my camera out?" Oh yeah, they freeze up. They're not used to it. I'm used to the camera. All right, my stage fright is long gone. I mean, but I had it at one time. If someone, handed me I guess the only time that I do kind of freeze up is if someone hands me a microphone and I'm talking to a crowd. Yeah, I get a little stage fright with that. Unless there's one time at a Mid America show, a couple of years ago. The guy wanted me to go up on stage. It was not the big Matt stage. It was like a sponsor stage, and he had like a little podcast, video cast, and stuff. Went to the world, but it also had a little audience there too, and had microphone, mic you up, and they had you. You know how big I am. I don't fit no freaking IKEA freaking chair, but yeah, I had this IKEA, and so what I did, this company wasn't a sponsor, so I could go and make fun of them all we want. It's like, where are you getting these stupid little cheap little IKEA things are? And then, I get a little bit of laughs out in the crowd. I'm picking on the host a little bit, and then I start picking on people out in the crowd, say, get the focus off me a little bit. And all of a sudden I get back in my groove a little bit like we have here. Because here's just, I mean, for people watching that may not be a part of this. Way I see it right now is that there's a lens right there. It's a little eyeball. I can almost see my reflection in it. And then down here is a guy I'm talking to. Down here, and it's a conversation. Now I know that there's going to be people that watch and listen to this. Okay, that's just how it is. I know that. But if you ever want to get rid of that stage fright like that, it's basically just like calming someone down. With what you do here is perfect because you can have something, even though it's virtual, you're in New York, I'm in Texas, it's virtual, but we can sit there and have like a pre warm up, right? Some people, I tell you what, a lot of people do, they have a cold beer or whatever, loosen themselves up a little bit. It's not good for a truck driver. You're out there on the road. Don't do that. But I'm just sitting there saying, yeah, exactly. Just like, hey, kind of get loosened up a little bit. I mean, I used to have to do that every now and then, but I don't anymore. But 'cause I just go, I just start cooking, especially if I'm comfortable. I will go. Um, I used to deny a lot of, and I still do a lot of podcasts just for the fact that I don't know them. I don't know what they're about. The one I did one here a couple of weeks ago with the Evil Empire in Chattanooga, and I infiltrated the Evil Empire, and and I got on their show, and the guy was the nicest guy. He was a guy that replaced Dooner, and yeah. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't have said that part, but anyway, he's the nicest guy. He probably didn't know who I was, and all that. I got on there, and of course, I don't know what happened. I know I didn't say anything wrong, except the only thing I said that was controversial on that show is like, "Hey Ike, if you got one thing to say to to Sean Duffy, what would you say?" I say, "We need to get rid of non-domicile CDLs." I said that, and I was blunt about it. And hey, that was my opportunity to say it. But that was the only really thing is it was just more just casual talk and that whole thing. They took down that whole show. I was like, wow, wow. But other than that, like, I won't go on somebody if I don't know who they are. Because maybe I'm a little bit kind of I've been burned in the past, like, oh man, someone trying out to get you type of thing. So I kind of watch my back like that a little bit. But I enjoy this type of stuff. I really do. So when it comes to someone who's not, I say all that to someone who's not used to it. Um, say at a show or whatever. I mean, especially the older crowd, they're not used to the technology. Even though they watch us on their technology, they're not used to it. They freeze up, and it's just the way it is. But sometimes I'll get someone to open up. But my channel hasn't been about interviews, but I'm going to start sprinkling them in. Again, it's all about evolving. You got to change. You can't sit there and stay the same, or the viewership's going to fall off. So yeah, it's a big thing. People. I'm with you 100%. People need to hear these guys' stories. They need to hear about Claretta. You're in New York. Claretta out of it was out of Jersey or New York City, whatever. I have a buddy of mine that used to drive for those guys. Even when they went out of business, he was all the way up until they went out of business. I mean, historical company. These drivers now don't know what Claretta is. The Claretta was out of business when I started. All I know of is their trucks by pictures, that you see online, and Highway Hank Good, which is a freaking legend. Now I got to meet a couple of years ago, which was great. And I was okay. My deal of meeting famous people's done. I finally got to meet the legend, Highway Hank Good, but which he was a guy. I think he ended up driving for was it Gully or something. I think it's their name. He'd have the HG on his on his grill, and he's got a lot of historical pictures like that. And he's from way back in the 60s and 70s. Old
Yeah.
man. And those are the type of stories that, like you said, you could sit there and watch Convoy and watch all those things. And I don't know how much of that is real, but I could tell you what, it's cool. But you ask these guys, okay, how much of that is real and how much of that is Hollywood, and they're like it's about half and half. Yeah, they dramatize it a little bit, but at the end of the day, the attitude of truck drivers, the attitude was pretty much real. So yeah, I
Yeah.
enjoy old school trucking. I wish I was there. And I guess the closest thing that you got to it was Australia. Getting
Yeah,
out there.
I caught the last of it. It's kind of gone there too because Australia's got this ridiculous nanny state and their government's worse than ours. I feel like I caught the last vestigial remains of it, and I try and include stories about that in my book. Um, it's hard to do things the old way when you have new ways of managing and regulating things, and things change, and nothing always stays the same. But there are there are things from history, there are ways of doing things which are timeless and which are human centered, and I think we're losing a lot of them, and I don't think we should. I think we lose some of this stuff at our own peril, and then we see what happens when we, you know let's replace people that know what they're doing with people that don't, and then that requires even more regulation and surveillance, and then that makes everything worse, and it sort of turns into this cycle. But Ike, I've almost had you here for 2 hours. I got to work pretty early in the morning. I'm very, very glad we finally got to do this together.
Oh
This has
yeah,
been a fantastic conversation. I'm going to see you at Matt's here in about 5, 6 weeks.
yeah.
I would encourage anybody listening to this. Come see us at the Mid America Truck Show, Louisville, Kentucky, March 24th to 26th. It's gonna be a good time. Lots of old school truckers there, lots of history, lots of new blingy stuff, lots of people, lots of hanging out, lots of good music. My buddy Long Haul Paul Marhofer was
Yeah.
selected to play the Friday night show there, which is fantastic. I can't wait to see Paul again. And there'll be lots of Freight X people, lots of YouTubers, lots of just good old boy truck drivers. There might even be some
Mention
F people there too.
mention the music guys. One of my favorite people was Bill Weaver. Just passed away last year. He'd been sick for a couple of years. I don't know if you ever met him. He was up there from Arkansas, flipping Arkansas, I believe. Um, Doggone, what a freaking great guy. And back when we used to have the Dallas Truck Show, we'd always meet up at the Great American Trucking Show every year because I hardly ever went to Matt's. I always just go to Dallas because it's just right down the road. And shoot, man, what a great guy. And I love those music guys. I do. They kind of they sing the song of the lifestyle of trucking, and unfortunately, I don't think they get enough attention from the younger crowd. Just for the fact that the younger crowd may not care about country music and all that, because that's what it seems like it is, it's all country music and trucking, and a lot of people are not into it. They're into hip hop, they're into dance, they're into rock and roll, they're into metal, but they're not.
So speaking of dance, your videos always have something going on in the background, and I know dance music a little bit because I was into psychedelic trance for a long time. Uh, what is that, and where do you find it? Who's the artist?
I'm a metalhead. Okay, just to be totally honest, I'm a metalhead. I'm a redneck. I like Bocephus. I love freaking Demon Hunter. There's a lot of. I'm a big into Christian metal. I don't listen to a lot of the death metal, but I just like a lot of stuff. But as far as I do listen to that kind of music, like sometimes Armin van Buren, stuff like that. But the thing about the thing, listen, if you watch my regular videos that post on Wednesday and Sunday, the background music is metal. It's hard rock, it's metal, it's meant to go like this. Well, I was having this discussion with another YouTuber from a different field. He's a personal friend of mine, and he was asking me about the music. Like, hey, well, what about this music? And it's plain and simple. When I'm sitting there going off talking about a news story or whatever, it's not showing the Rex, it's not showing this. I'm going to have a different kind of music because here's the deal. Um, there's a psychological thing that people don't understand. They will watch a video longer if there's music in the background. Okay, it helps the it doesn't matter if it's mainly video, but if you have music in the background, just low, barely know it's there, but you know it's there, you can kind of hear it. um they will stay longer. There's a proven test. So I picked that because, well, metal, doesn't fit the mood of the video. I'm not going to sit there and play the metal if I'm reporting on, well, 4 people died in this wreck. So there's no strategic. I'll go and sit there and look through a library and says, okay, this is good background music. It doesn't bring too much attention off of what I'm saying, but it's there, and it helps the viewer kind of still pay attention a little bit. Because if I leave the music track off of the editing, it will go and I'll put people to sleep. I know I will. I try to keep people entertained for as long as I can. But sometimes I know me, and sometimes when I do the videos, if I do them in the morning, you ask anybody, I'm not a morning person. I thrive right now. This is the reason why I'm freaking I'm going. I'll be cooking until midnight, and then I crash. And this morning, after all my freaking posts I made, last night and this morning, I had freaking missed calls. And it's like, oh man, I finally got to him about 10 or something like that's when I get out of here. But but the music is just, I'm gonna put that kind of music because I just know that it will help the viewers stick around. It's not because I'm this big old trance or dance kind of thing. I go to a rave. I do like listening to it when I'm, in the truck, if I'm on a long trip, or if I'm in the gym. Believe it or not, I do go to the gym. I can't get rid of the belly though. I lift a lot of weights, so it helps. But I do all that. I'll put it in there because it's fast paced. But no, I'm a metalhead. I am a metalhead. I'm a country guy. I love country music. I love all kinds of music. I love 90s hip hop, freaking the real stuff, with like Snoop and freaking Tupac and all them. But it's just I'm not I'm not one of those guys that have piercings all over and have purple hair and dress in skinny jeans and all this. It's just,
Ike Stephens and skinny jeans. There's an image we didn't need to
back when I
see.
was skinny, I think I probably rocked them. That was many decades ago. That was many cheeseburgers and steaks ago.
All right, man. Listen, thank you so much for joining me and my listeners.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and get this out as soon as possible, and I'll send you the video file, and then you can slice and dice. Maybe you chuck it on your channel, maybe not, whatever. But
Yeah.
uh, Ike Stephens, Bonehead Truckers. People can find you on YouTube, Twitter, and where else?
Uh, um, Twitter, Facebook, um, oh yeah, X or not X, yeah, X, but Instagram. That's what I was trying to think. Picturegram. I was the one to call it Picturegram the other day. Um, I don't. Instagram is my least out of anything. But they say, oh, you got to post there. Oh, okay, I'll post some pictures there, whatever. But listen, bread and butter, the good stuff. The juicy stuff is on YouTube. It's not because that's where I get my paycheck. It's just because that's where I spend the bulk of my time, and I put the bulk of my work in. I piss people off, as many people off on X that I can. So if you want to watch that freaking Wild Wild West show, let's see what kind of mood Ike is in now. That's just it. I kind of go on rants there, and sometimes they make it a video, sometimes they don't. The good thing about with what I do, everything's recorded. I recorded a good rant today, where I went into detail about some of these trucking media organizations, and I went to go and put it there on my editing, and I was like, yeah, I ain't doing that. I threw it away. I was like, I just wasted an hour filming this right freaking piece, and it was just like, I'm gonna get the good stuff out of it. Yeah. So, but YouTube is the thing, right? And then X, man, if you want to sit there and you know, I'll post videos on there sometimes. So it's mainly just like, let's see what troubles my fingers can get into. So,
All right. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for listening. Thanks for being with us, Ike, and way of the road.